In the narrow, dust-choked streets of an ancient coastal city, not far from where the Arabian Sea meets the Indus Delta, there lived a man named Elias. No one called him that anymore. To the fisherman who shared his crumbling rooftop apartment, to the chaiwala who handed him his morning glass without a word, he was simply the quiet one. Elias worked nights, repairing fishing nets under a single flickering bulb, his fingers moving with mechanical precision while his mind wandered through memories he could never quite grasp. He had always felt watched, not by people ignored him, but by something larger, something that hummed just beyond the edge of hearing. At night, when the city slept and the sea whispered against the breakwater, he would wake suddenly, heart hammering, convinced that invisible threads were tightening around his chest. He would sit up, sweating, staring at the cracked ceiling as if it might split open and reveal the truth. One monsoon evening in late December, everything changed. Elias had stayed late at the dock, untangling a torn net under the orange glow of sodium lamps. The rain had stopped, leaving the air thick and metallic. As he walked home through the empty lanes, he noticed the streetlights flickering in a strange rhythm, not random but deliberate, like Morse code from a dying star. Then he saw them. At first he thought they were fireflies, impossible in the winter damp. Tiny motes of light drifted down from the sky, pale violet and silver, moving against the wind. They were not insects. They pulsed gently, as though breathing. Elias froze. One particle hovered inches from his face, rotating slowly, emitting a low tone that vibrated in his teeth. He reached out instinctively. The moment his fingertip brushed it, the world inverted. A voice, not sound, but pure knowing, flooded his mind. Chosen one. The particles multiplied. Hundreds became thousands, swirling around him in a slow vortex. They weren't attacking. They were approaching, testing, measuring. Each one carried fragments of memory that weren't his. Golden deserts under twin suns, marble temples floating above emerald clouds, a child laughing in a language of pure light, and pain, endless, ancient pain. Elias staggered backward against a wall, his vision blurred. He saw himself, not the tired net mender, but a figure clad in shifting armor of starlight, standing on a battlefield where realities collided. Armies of shadow and armies of radiance clashed in silence. At the center stood a throne made of woven nebulae, empty, waiting. The voice returned, clearer now. The particles are the remnants of forgotten oaths. They were sent long ago to find the one who would remember. You are that one. The cycle ends tonight unless you accept. Elias laughed, a broken, terrified sound. What accept? I repair nets. I drink tea. I'm nobody. You were never nobody. You chose forgetting so the rest of us could live without the burden of destiny. But the forgetting is ending. The particles are the harbingers. If they strike without your permission, they will unravel your soul thread by thread. You will become a hollow echo, wandering eternity, regretting the moment you refused. He ran. Through alleys slick with rain, past shuttered shops and sleeping dogs, the particles followed. They did not chase aggressively. They drifted, patient, inevitable. Every time he glanced back, there were more, now drifting through walls, through people who never noticed, through the very air itself. He reached his rooftop room, slammed the door, and sank to the floor. His hands shook. He could feel them now, circling the building like moths around a flame. The low hum grew louder, resonating in his bones. On the small wooden table lay an old, tarnished pendant he had worn as a child, a gift from a mother he barely remembered. It was a simple silver disc engraved with a spiral that seemed to move if you stared long enough. He had kept this all these years without knowing why. He lifted it.
The particles responded instantly, surging toward the window, pressing against the glass without breaking it. The hum became words again. Hang this, wear it, remember. Elias stared at the pendant. His pulse thundered. Part of him wanted to throw it into the sea, to keep pretending he was ordinary, safe. But another part, the part that had always woken in the night, the part that felt the weight of unseen eyes, knew the truth. He slipped the chain over his head. The moment the pendant settled against his chest, the particles stopped. They hung suspended, glowing brighter, then began to orbit him in perfect harmony. One by one, they merged into his skin, painless, warm. Memories returned in waves. He had been a guardian once in a place before time had names. He had volunteered to descend, to live blind among mortals, to anchor the balance when the veil between worlds grew too thin. The particles were his own creation, sentinels programmed to awaken him when the hour arrived. And the hour had arrived. Outside, the city lights dimmed for a heartbeat. Somewhere far above, unseen forces shifted. A storm that was not weather gathered on the horizon, not of rain, but of possibility. Elias stood. He felt taller, stronger, yet strangely calm. The hum inside him was no longer a warning, it was a song. He stepped to the edge of the roof and looked out over the sleeping city. The particles, now part of him, glowed faintly beneath his skin like veins of starlight. "You have accepted," the voice whispered, softer now, almost proud. "The strike will not come, but the work begins." Elias nodded to the night sky. He did not know what battles lay ahead, what shadows he would face, or how many lives he would touch before the cycle closed. But he knew one thing with unshakable certainty. He had almost let them strike. He had almost chosen regret forever. Instead, he had chosen to remember. And in that single, quiet act of hanging the pendant around his neck, the chosen one had returned. The particles sang on, faint and eternal, as the first light of dawn touched the sea. The end, or perhaps only the beginning.
In the shadowed labyrinths of Karachi's ancient Lyari quarter, where the Arabian Sea's salty breath mingled with the clamor of rickshaws and the distant call to prayer, Elias had carved out a life as unremarkable as the frayed fishing nets he mended. He was 42, or so he guessed. Birth records were a luxury his family never afforded. His days blurred into nights, waking at dusk to the hum of ceiling fans, sipping bitter chai from a cracked glass at the corner stall, then trudging to the docks where the boats bobbed like weary sentinels under the sodium glare. His hands, calloused and scarred from years of knotting twine, moved with a rhythm born of habit, not passion. The fisherman called him Bai, brother, but never asked about his past. Elias preferred it that way. Memories were like hooks, sharp, painful, and best left buried. But the watching had always been there. It started as a child, in the mud brick house where his mother whispered stories of jinn and hidden realms while his father hauled crates at the port. Elias would stare at the stars through the open roof, feeling a pull, as if invisible strings tugged at his soul. "You're special, Beta," his mother would say, pressing a tarnished silver pendant into his small palm. "One day, you'll remember why." She died when he was 10, fever claiming her in a single merciless night. The pendant stayed with him, a cold weight around his neck until he tucked it away in a drawer, forgotten amid the grind of survival. His father followed soon after, lost at sea in a storm that locals whispered was no accident, cursed by unseen forces. Now, alone in his rooftop room atop a crumbling building that groaned with every gust, Elias lived in quiet isolation. The city pulsed around him, vendors hawking sizzling kebabs, children chasing kites over rooftops, the ceaseless honk of traffic. But he felt detached, as if viewing it all through fogged glass. Nights were the worst. Dreams came unbidden. Visions of vast, glowing landscapes where beings of light clashed with shadows that screamed. He'd wake, gasping, the air thick with an electric hum that faded like a retreating echo. "Just the wires," he'd mutter, blaming the overloaded power lines snaking across the neighborhood. But deep down, he knew better. It was the eve of the winter solstice, December 21st, when the veil thinned. The monsoon had relented days earlier, leaving the air heavy with unresolved tension. Elias lingered at the docks longer than usual, the net in his lap a tangled mess from a novice fisherman's mishap. The sea was restless, waves slapping against the pilings like impatient fingers. As the last boat departed, he packed his tools and started home, the path winding through narrow alleys where streetlights cast elongated shadows. The city felt unnaturally quiet, the usual bustle muted as if holding its breath. That's when he noticed the flicker. The lamps pulsed, not the random stutter of faulty wiring, but a synchronized rhythm, dot, dash, dot, like a signal from afar. Elias paused, rubbing his eyes. Then, from the ink-black sky, they descended. At first, he mistook them for ash from a distant fire, or perhaps bioluminescent plankton carried inland by the wind. But no, these were particles, minuscule orbs of violet and silver light, drifting downward in defiance of gravity. They multiplied silently, a gentle cascade that illuminated the alley without casting shadows. One hovered before him, no larger than a marble, rotating with hypnotic grace. It emitted a faint glow, pulsing in time with his heartbeat. Elias's breath caught. He extended a trembling hand, his fisherman's instinct overriding fear. The particle brushed his skin, cool, electric, alive. The world shattered, not physically, but in his mind. A cascade of images flooded him, ancient ziggurats rising from golden sands under alien skies, colossal beings forging stars from raw ether, a child, himself perhaps, clutching a spiral-etched amulet as worlds collided, and a voice, not auditory, but woven into his thoughts, resonant and ancient. "Chosen one." Elias recoiled, slamming against the rough brick wall. The particles swarmed now, thousands strong, encircling him in a luminous vortex. They didn't attack, they probed, assessing, as if scanning for a key that fit an invisible lock. Each touch brought fragments, a betrayal in a council of light, a voluntary exile to a primitive world, a promise to return when the cycles aligned. Pain threaded through it all, loss, sacrifice, the weight of forgotten wars. "The mysterious particles are approaching to strike you," the voice intoned, urgent yet calm. "They are the echoes of your oath, sent across voids to awaken you. Hang this, or regret forever." Elias's mind reeled. "Hang what? Who are you?" he whispered, voice hoarse. "The pendant, the anchor. You crafted it eons ago, a failsafe for your slumbering self. The particles carry the strike, the unraveling. Refuse, and they will dissolve your essence, leaving you a specter in the void, eternally regretting the forsaken duty." Panic surged. Elias bolted, feet pounding the uneven pavement. The alleys twisted like a maze, but the particles followed effortlessly, phasing through walls, gliding over puddles. He burst into a crowded bazaar, hoping the throng would disperse them. But the vendors and shoppers remained oblivious, haggling over spices and fabrics as the lights danced unseen around him. A child pointed, giggling at what she thought were fireflies, but no one else noticed. His lungs burned as he climbed the rickety stairs to his rooftop haven. Slamming the door, he barricaded it with a chair, though he knew it was futile. The hum intensified, vibrating the air, the floor, his very bones. Outside the window, the particles amassed, a shimmering barrier pressing inward without force.
On the scarred wooden table, amid scattered tools and a half-eaten roti, lay the pendant. It caught the faint moonlight, the engraved spiral seeming to writhe.
Elias approached it warily, as if it might bite. Memories stirred unbidden. His mother's final words, "When the lights come, wear it, Beta. It's your shield." He had dismissed it as folklore, a dying woman's delirium. Time wanes. The strike builds. Worlds hang in balance. You are the fulcrum, the one who chose forgetting to protect the innocent. But shadows stir. Accept, or all unravels. Elias's hands shook as he lifted the chain. Doubt warred with an inexplicable certainty. What if this was madness? A hallucination from bad water or exhaust fumes? Yet the particles' glow intensified, the hum rising to a crescendo that drowned out the city's distant sirens. He thought of his life, the empty routines, the unspoken loneliness, the dreams that hinted at more. What did he have to lose? Regret? He'd tasted that already, in the father lost to waves, the mother to illness, the years of quiet erasure. With a deep breath, he draped the pendant around his neck. The metal warmed instantly, fusing to his skin like a second pulse. The particles halted. Time stretched. Then, in a symphony of light, they converged, merging into him one by one. No pain, only a rush of completeness. Memories unfurled like blooming lotuses. He was Elohim, guardian of the veil, born in the nexus where realities intertwined. Millennia ago, a cataclysm threatened. The shadow weave, a devouring force born of unchecked ambition. To seal it, he volunteered descent, stripping his powers, incarnating as mortal Elias, anchoring the barrier with his oblivious existence. The particles were his sentinels, programmed to awaken him when the weave weakened. Now it had. Portents flashed, earthquakes in distant lands, skies bleeding unnatural colors, whispers of unrest in Karachi's underbelly, cults forming, drawn to the thinning veil. As the last particle absorbed, Elias, Elohim, stood transformed. His posture straightened, eyes glowing faintly violet. Strength coursed through him, not brute force, but cosmic awareness. He stepped onto the roof, the city sprawling below like a living map. The sea glittered, waves carrying secrets from forgotten depths. But awakening brought peril. Shadows stirred in response. From the alley below, a figure emerged, cloaked, eyes gleaming with unnatural hunger. A harbinger of the weave, sensing the shift. Elias felt it, the first skirmish in a war spanning realms. "You have chosen wisely," the voice, now his own, whispered. The strike averted, but the path unfolds. Allies await in the hidden corners. Enemies lurk in plain sight. Hang on to this truth, or regret will claim others. Elias descended the stairs, pendant humming against his chest. The city awoke around him, unaware of the guardian in their midst. He headed toward the docks, where an old fisherman, perhaps no coincidence, had once spoken of lights in the water. The story was just beginning. Alliances to forge, betrayals to uncover, a climax where the veil might tear or mend. In the heart of Karachi, under a sky now alive with possibility, the chosen one walked forward, no longer quiet, no longer forgotten. The particles sang within, an eternal reminder, hang on or regret forever. But regret? That was for the shadows. Elias had chosen light. And so the saga deepened, thread by thread, into the tapestry of fate.